In this video, we are going to discuss important listening questions. Match the columns as well as MCQs, multiple choice questions. First, we will solve these questions and then we will discuss it.
We'll hear a discussion between 3 students and their lecturer. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
That's right. I started out working as a researcher in Kelheim Laboratories, though it's a long time ago now.
What was it like then? Starting out, I mean. That'll be us next year.
It largely depends on your work environment, really. My team in the biophysics department were not very understanding of how it feels to be a new guy, and were really quite hard on me. From day one, they expected me to pull my weight, and they reprimanded me for any mistakes I made. There was no time for me to find my feet and get comfortable.
That sounds awful.
Well, it was to begin with, and it certainly took a long time for me to gain their respect. But once I had done, the work environment became far more pleasant, and indeed we ended up making a great team.
How long did you stay there?
6 years.
You did a fair stint then?
Yes, well, you see, I was offered a promotion in my 5th year to assistant manager. Needless to say, I jumped at the chance. I'd got to know the manager really well during my time there, though, and I knew, based on how quick he was to point out what you were doing wrong all the time, that it would be a challenge to have to work closely with him. But I've never been one not to accept a challenge.
So how did you and he get on?
Well, it didn't matter, as he was only there another 6 months. He took early retirement on account of a heart condition, and before you knew it, there I was, managing the entire operation.
Was that difficult for you?
Not at all. I was very fortunate to then be managing the same team as I had been part of for so long. They were at ease with me and the way I did things, so the department functioned really well for a time.
Only for a time?
Yes, until I got into a dispute with the directors. You see, being new to management, I'd never dealt with directors or the like before, and their expectations were just not very practical. They had their head in the clouds, if you ask me. Anyway, they expected me to get instant results in our lab work. Needless to say, I wasn't prepared to rush the delicate experiments we were conducting along too quickly. I stood my ground and made it clear that I had no wish to pressure my team, and that, in my eyes, they could have as much time as they liked to find out what they were looking for. This didn't go down too well with the directors, and they got rid of me.
You mean you were sacked?
In a manner of speaking. Well, they told me to leave of my own accord or I would be removed. I left.
And is that when you started to lecture?
Yes, and I've been doing it ever since. When I first arrived, Dr. Michael Stout was still a member of staff here.
You mean the programme director?
Well, he wasn't back then. I have Michael to thank for showing me the ropes. He was very considerate of the new faculty members and assisted me no end. And now, here I am, 20 years a lecturer. How time flies.
Well, sir, we're very glad to have you as ours, that's for sure.
Yeah, you make all the stuff sound so interesting, unlike some of them.
Couldn't agree more. Honestly, I almost fall asleep in the other classes.
Now, come on. I'm neither that good, nor are your other lecturers that bad.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions.
Now we are done with match the columns. In these questions, they are talking about which attitude is associated with the following people. Here they are talking about particularly team, professors, manager, employees, directors, Michael Stout, then professors, current students with whom the professor is talking about. Here he is talking about his biophysics team. he was telling that the team was not sympathetic. They did not accepted a new guy in the team. So the team was unsympathetic towards them.
My team in the biophysics department were not very understanding of how it feels to be a new guy, and were really quite hard on me. From day one, they expected me to pull my weight, and they reprimanded me for any mistakes I made.
They did not understand and welcome the new person. In the second question, professor's manager, he was critical because the professor talked about that manager was very quick at pointing out what you were doing wrong or right.
I'd got to know the manager really well during my time there, though, and I knew, based on how quick he was to point out what you were doing wrong all the time, that it would be a challenge to have to work closely with him.
So he was very critical about the work. Then if we see the 23rd, the professor's employees. The professor student asked how he managed to work with the team. He told that he was fortunate that the team was the same and they were at ease with me.
Our operation.
Was that difficult for you?
Not at all. I was very fortunate to then be managing the same team as I had been part of for so long. They were at ease with me and the way I did things, so the department functioned really well.
So the answer will be relaxed. Then he talked about the directors. He told that he got into a dispute with the directors. The reason was that their expectations were not very practical and they had their head in the clouds.
Speaking, well, they told me to leave of my own accord or I would be removed. I left.
Means the expectations were unrealistic. Then he talked about Dr. Michael Stout. Why he said he was welcoming? Because he said that I have to thank him for showing me the ropes and he was very considerate for the new faculty members.
I have Michael to thank for showing me the ropes. He was very considerate of the new faculty members and assisted me no end.
So that means that he was very welcoming. In the last question, why the answer is grateful? Because the professor was talking to his current student and the student told him that they are glad to have him as their professor, and the other student also agreed and professor was happy at that.
Sir, we're very glad to have you as ours, that's for sure.
Yeah, you make all the stuff sound so interesting, unlike some of them.
So the answer will be grateful. So this is the way we can match these attitudes with the given statements by choosing that what they are talking about regarding each part of question. Thank you. Okay, now we are going to do multiple choice questions, MCQs. The best way to do MCQs is to exclude the answers about which you are not sure of, and the answer which is left can be the correct answer.
Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
Right, now let's get down to business. We didn't meet for an idle chat. Tell me, John, how's the project coming along?
Well, we haven't been able to isolate the mutant gene yet, so to be honest, I'd say it's slow progress.
But you have at least identified the mutant gene, correct?
Yeah, but until we isolate it, testing cannot commence, so the whole project is on hold at the moment.
I think you're being a little too hard on yourselves. After all, correct me if I'm wrong, but did we not say a time frame of maybe 6 months just to identify the culprit?
Yes, but having done that so quickly in the space of a week, it's frustrating to have to wait now.
Patience is a skill you have yet to acquire, John.
I guess.
We have managed to establish that the gene mutation bypasses every other generation.
Intriguing. So the infection is not passed directly from parent to child?
No. If the parent is infected, the child will be a silent carrier who will go on to infect any children he or she has.
That's an important discovery.
Yes, and we've also found a way to switch off the mutant gene, we think.
Go on.
One of the volunteers we have been studying was a carrier 6 months ago, but the mutation is no longer in his DNA. Having studied his health records, it seems that he caught a strain of bird flu on a trip to Malaysia. He had a near-death experience, but has since made a full recovery.
Do you suspect the bird flu virus somehow has a curative effect?
We don't think it was the virus, but the accompanying fever. His body temperature was raised to 105. We have a hypothesis that the mutant gene couldn't cope with such an excessive internal body temperature.
Excellent work. So, by the sounds of it, a cure might not be too far away?
If we can isolate the gene, then we can begin further research to confirm our hypothesis.
Now I understand why you're so eager.
That's the end of section 3. You have half a minute to check your answers.